This is Goodyear firefighter Austin Peck. His battle with cancer ended on August 31st, 2019. He was 35 years old. KTAR News had an exclusive opportunity to sit down with Peck and his family weeks before he passed away. Our interview with Peck was related to cancer in the fire service. We learned about his 11 years as a firefighter, his nearly 4-year battle with cancer, and what his family endured. Austin planned his memorial service himself. In a letter describing how he wanted his friends, family, and fellow firefighters to honor his line-of-duty death, he said, quote, "Don't make my death a long, drawn-out ordeal. Have fun with it, or else I won't enjoy it. So if people have to fake having fun, do it. Have a really great party at one of my favorite places and invite everybody. Be helpful to my girls. Make sure they want for nothing. Have fun. Give my unwanted things to people who need it. Don't just hang on to things you don't need. Spread my ashes somewhere cool. If someone else wants to take them someplace cool, have at it. Give them a bit. You will make the right choices. I have set up my lifestyle where I have my friends and family so close they will know what to do. Most of all, it goes without saying, take care of my 3 girls. My family and friends, keep your ship together." This is his story.
My name is Austin Peck. I was a firefighter for the city of Goodyear for 11 years. I was an engineer.
Alrighty, so how can you describe your job in the 11 years that you worked and I guess getting occupational cancer?
Just the start of the job is an academy where you're exposed to open flame and live fire, where they're just burning pallets, and pallets are made with chemicals, they're treated with chemicals. The hose that you use gets all that stuff on it through the water, and you carry that into your career as a fireman, where you go on a house fire, or even just a sick call. You get people who are, say, hoarders, or they have a dirty house, or drug addicts, and that stuff is also carcinogens. But as far as fire and carcinogens go throughout your career, you could go on a hazmat call where there's a huge plume of, you have no idea what all these chemicals that, say, a factory is making, and you're sitting right there trying to figure it out in a book and letting all the other oncoming engines and ladders stay back this far, and you're trying to get people out, because that's our job, is help remove the source, one, and save people or help people as much as we can, while risking our own lives, really, physically and long term, like cancer. So those carcinogens will sink into our gear. Like I said, they sink into the hose that we use by the water dripping on the ground. All the hose gets soaking wet and we have to reload it. And then it gets into our gloves, and our gloves aren't carcinogen proof. They suck it all in. And then we decontaminate as much as we can with an air hose, or spray ourselves with a fire hose, take our gear off and get into a fire truck, and we're now spreading it into the fire truck seats and the floors. And we go back to the station and bring it into the station and clean up all of our stuff outside. So now all the concrete in the bays in the station are covered in that carcinogen, and we do our best to wipe the station down. We do outside cleaning every other day. We do inside cleaning every single day. But just the whole lifestyle of being a fireman, whether it's fire, hazardous materials, emergency calls, or just the silly calls that everybody hears about, you don't know who you're going to meet or what fire you're going to get. We're working out in the weight room, sweating, and it opens up our pores and just toxifies us even more. So that's the short story of the career of what you're being exposed to.
What kind of cancer do you have, and how long have you had it?
I was diagnosed with sinonasal undifferentiated carcinoma. They call it SNUC for short. I was diagnosed in 2015, end of November. And the doctor that diagnosed me told me I had an 18% chance to live within 5 months, and that was with treatment. It was a rare cancer that only about 400 people have had, and there had been no research or diagnosis really on how to treat it. But it's a sinus cancer that grew pretty quick. Everybody at the fire station would tease me like I was getting in fights, because we would work out and box and spar, and I've had broken noses before, so I just thought I had a broken nose because my nose kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it got to the point where even battalion chiefs would say, "Hey man, are you getting in fights outside of work?" They're like, "No." And finally we were messing around on a vacation, and my buddy kind of hit me in the nose on accident, and it felt like my face just shattered. My face turned cold and numb, and we were out in the middle of nowhere, like we couldn't get home for at least a week. And my wife said, "You're getting this checked out." And I went to the doctor, and he put a camera way up in my nose and said, "You have a giant tumor up there." And 3 days later, he tried to schedule me for surgery 4 months later. 3 days later, I found out he was the on-call doctor in the emergency room. So we went to the emergency room, and he had to do the surgery 3 days later. And they called it a debulking surgery and tried to take as much as they could out. And they tested it, and it ended up being snuck. The day I got diagnosed was the day that we were supposed to sign a loan to build a brand new house. And like, well, we're not building the house now, and now I have to tell my daughters. It was 4 years ago, so I had 2 young daughters. How do you explain that to 2 baby girls, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, that daddy has to move to California because they don't treat this kind of, California had a special radiology machine where I had to move to California for 4 months. Well, my kids, I want them to live a normal life, and they were going to school and dance, and so my kids had to live with my parents for 4 months, and they don't know where daddy is, and mommy left with daddy to take care of him, because after the surgery I had, mom had to quit her job. She was a labor nurse for 12 years and had to quit her job to become a caretaker. She's no longer the wife. She is now the lifesaver and the insurance warden. And she's on the phone still, almost 4 years into it, maybe 3-4 hours a day, dealing with insurance, just fighting back because everybody denies insurance. But with the treatment I had to go to in California, I had to start chemotherapy and a proton beam radiation. There was only 6 of them in the United States at the time, so I moved to California. And not only is rent higher in California, all my insurance was denying every treatment. So out of pocket, the day I moved to California, I was almost $100,000 out of pocket. Firemen don't have $100,000 in their pocket. So stayed in California for 4 months. I lost 36 pounds in 6 weeks. And I had open sores all over my face, my neck, interior, in my throat and mouth. And they wanted to do a feeding tube, and the man I am, the fireman, said, "No, we're not doing that." And so I didn't eat for 3 weeks, and I was pretty much dead to the world on the couch. And they just keep giving you the treatment. And they overdosed me with radiation. You have a lifetime dose of radiation you're allowed to get, and they just kept giving it to me to try and save me, because the tumor was growing so fast in my head. It had wrapped around my optic nerve on my right side and grown and was pushing on my brain barrier, causing a 10 out of 10 pain while in treatment. And they give you all the meds, and the meds make you sick, the chemo makes you sick, and then they bring you back for more the next day. And so I did 4 months of that, and then luckily the Mayo Clinic here in Phoenix got one of those proton beam radiation machines, so we were able to move back home. Fortunately, my parents had an extra bedroom for me and my children to sleep in, so we stayed with my parents for a very long time. And the support of not just family. Family is the fire department. I can't tell you how many people would come to my chemotherapy. The nurses would swim through firemen to come see me, like to treat me, and family from out of town flies without telling you, and fire stations or firefighters you've never even heard of coming to your treatments and coming to your home and bringing food, money to help with medical bills. I had no idea. I wasn't driving because I couldn't see, I couldn't hear. My cars looked brand new, it's detailed, clean, and we get those just blue apron boxes, and the support from family and the fire family. I mean, they're my brothers. I've lived with them a third of my life for the last 11 years, 4 or 48 hours at a time. You can't get away from them. They become family. And so the support there and through all that treatment, and I've continued to get treatment at the Mayo Clinic until just recently, because I was sort of forced into retirement with the city because they don't have any position for a non-industrial injury, and which means I've been denied the industrial claim that I've put in. I was denied 4 times, to where now I just have to quit my job, my life. I grew up with a fire family. My uncles are firefighters. I've always wanted to be a fireman. Every single class my teachers would ask, what are you going to be? I'm going to be a fireman, nothing more. And now I'm forced to quit because there's no position for a guy like me who didn't get hurt on the job legally. And the retirement that I had to do a few weeks ago is non-supportive. I have 0 benefits, so now I have to find a healthcare program personally, which they give me part of my retirement that I paid into cash, but it doesn't cover even my medical bills. So now with my wife not working and me not working, and with my retirement, I'm no longer allowed to seek gainful employment, so I can't even get a job sitting at a desk because of my condition, that we're in this big financial break that we're swimming trying to figure out where we're going while continuing treatment. And I've tried everything from that proton beam radiation to regular like gamma radiation. I've been through, I think, 9 rounds of chemotherapy now, which is unheard of. And every week I go to a doctor's appointment where the doctor literally throws his hands in the air and says, I have no idea how to treat you. We're here to make you comfortable because you're not going to survive this. And you look at the doctor and you want to hit him and say, you told me 5 months and I'm here almost 4 years later, so let's keep trying. And we've tried. I had to move to Utah for a month for a naturopathic clinic to try natural cancer treatment and healing and detox. And so anything anyone tries says, we'll try it because it's my life. I don't want to leave my family, not just my girls, but this giant group of people that have supported me and literally carried me through it. So the treatment's hard, but I always make the joke that fighting not only my regular insurance, but health or industrial insurance is way harder than fighting the cancer. And it's terrible to say, but that's the truth.
How old are you?
I just turned 35 last week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Is your cancer one of the cancers included in the presumptive cancer law?
Unfortunately, the name of my cancer, sinonasal undifferentiated carcinoma, because it is so rare, no. But there are 2 cancers in the cancer law, pharynx cancer and adenocarcinoma, where my cancer, I had a tumor this size in my pharynx. How is that not related to pharynx cancer? Also, our fight was it mirrors adenocarcinoma, but it's just not called the same thing. Where I have 6 doctors from out of state, from California, Texas, here, that have all studied my cancer and actually treated people with my cancer, that have said this is directly related to adenocarcinoma and pharynx cancer. They've shown pictures, all of my scans to the court, and the court has the independent medical examiner through the Copper Point that isn't even a head and neck doctor. He works on lung cancer and GI cancer. And I saw him for about 5 minutes. He didn't even touch me. And his report stated, he even openly said, I've never seen or heard of this cancer, and I have no idea how he got it or how to treat it. And all of my doctors were, unfortunately, I was only allowed to use 1 in the court system when I have 6 that have seen this cancer and treated it, and all say that it was definitely from carcinogens and exposures in the fire department. I was only allowed to use 1 report, and it was like they didn't even look at my report, or my doctor's report.
How has this taken a toll financially on you and your family?
Financially, we just were debt free. We paid off all of our cars. We had a camp trailer. So we were in a great spot. My wife was working, I was working, side jobs even, and just helping people out with, like, hey, let me help you with your sink. And so we were making great money, and we were in a great spot. We were getting ready to build our dream home. And insurance, although you pay into it, you believe, say you have car insurance, you get in an accident, they fix your car, no question. Like sometimes they don't even look at it. You crack your window, a new guy comes out and puts a window in. You have health insurance, and the second you turn something in that says, oh, I have a cold or cancer, they deny it, your regular health insurance. But you're already at the doctor, so you have to pay that out of pocket, and it's not cheap. And they say, well, when your insurance kicks in and says that they'll cover it, we'll pay you back. But they don't. They end up putting it towards something else that you did health-wise. And so it's really a money dump. Like everything you own becomes liquid. You have to think like, well, do I sell my dirt bike that I've had for years? All of my hobbies have now been sold for money for going to Walgreens and picking up pills. And then insurance, you have to appeal, just regular insurance. And that's what my wife does every day, waits on hold for hours to appeal, because just recently a doctor wrote me a prescription for a pain med, and he wrote the real name instead of the generic name, and my insurance denied it. So now I'm waiting another week for a pain med that I need because I can hardly walk. And they're denying it because it was written the wrong name and not a generic name. So just fighting with the insurance and dumping money because I need the care. I was told I have 5 months to live. I'm not gonna not get the care started. So when I started in California with my treatment, out of pocket, I paid for chemotherapy was $3,800 a day. It was 5 days a week. And then radiation, luckily, the hospital worked with us for a cash offer, went from, I think it was $159,000, and they said, well, if you're paying cash, we'll do it for $50,000. So instantly I had to say, okay, and I can't just pay, you paid me 1 day of radiation today, I had to pay the whole thing. And so you start to look at life different, and all of your hobbies go away. My daughter's dance and jiu-jitsu practice had to be cut off because we can't afford those hobbies anymore that we worked so hard for. And you get I paid for the insurance. With every paycheck, they take my money out, so I have insurance. That's why I do it. as well as cancer insurance. I paid for cancer insurance knowing that my job has a high rate of cancer. And when I turned it in, I was like, oh yeah, I paid for it. I should get it. This is what I've earned. Just like Gilbert said, is I've worked my whole life as a fireman to earn every little bit of what I get. And then when you're the guy who gets cancer, unfortunately, they instantly deny it. And for some reason, everybody gets the same independent medical examiner when it's supposed to be a third party, just let's find a different guy, a random guy. And it happens to be the same guy every time. So is the court or the industrial insurance, Copper Point, somehow paying this doctor to deny us for silly reasons, like Gilberts is on the list and mine isn't, but it mirrors 2 of the cancers on the list. And with all of our research that we've done, the judge, it was a little courtroom, and we didn't even know it was the judge. She came in like it was a Sunday in her sweats, and she came in, and I looked at a folder that Gilbert fortunately made for me of all of my calls because I was going through treatment. And she flipped through this folder with her thumb just like this, hardly looked at it, and said, which one of these gave you cancer? And I kind of blew up in court, and my lawyer stopped me, but like, yeah, I walked into a house and said, guys, I gotta go, I just got cancer. Like, I'm a fireman helping everyone. I grew up wanting to help everyone and be the guy to support and lift, and now I'm the guy, unfortunately, who needs help. I hate accepting the help, but going to court for something I've already paid into, I thought it'd be, okay, we understand, you're a fireman, you've gone through this many calls with this many carcinogens and exposures, let's take care of you now, because that's what you're paying for. And what I'm paying for is gone. And now, unfortunately, I have no job, I'm not allowed to get another job, and I have no benefits. So now I'm scrambling for benefits because I had to quit last week and I'm still in the middle of treatment. So how does that get covered? Well, I have to pay out of pocket now until the new insurance that I found kicks in and hopefully pays me back, but probability says they won't.
So since you're retired now, you are no longer in the appeals process, or you cannot appeal again or anything like that?
My appeals process closed while I was still working for the city of Goodyear. So we went a different route through public safety retirement system, which is another thing through the fire department that you pay into for this kind of retirement that you still have to apply for, and you have to go through a board of people who analyze all of your paperwork, and they vote on whether they give you a certain retirement. They have a regular retirement, advanced retirement, and a catastrophic, which is what I was accepted for because of my condition. So luckily they accepted it that way. But with that way gave me a little bit of money every month and 0 benefits. That's it, which is helpful because it's better than no money. But then on the workman's comp side, if I would have gotten that, I would have gotten all of my sick and vacation time back that I've used, all of my out-of-pocket medical bills. I'd have had the rest of my life for whatever treatment I needed completely covered, and I would have gotten back what I've put in mentally and financially. But there's no way so far of reopening that Copper Point case, the industrial case, and we're looking into it like crazy, paying more lawyers to see if there's a way to crack back into it and keep fighting on a different way. And with the new stuff coming out with the Attorney General and all this stuff, there's a big movement going on, and people are finally starting to see, like, oh my gosh, these guys aren't being taken care of. They've taken care of. Everybody has a story of the fire department helping a family member out, or them out, or their dog out, or a cat in a tree, whatever. But they don't realize on a low base, I mean, that we're just 2 firemen, Gilbert and I, out of thousands in just the state of Arizona, that people don't see the little stuff that's happening. And then they realize it when the Attorney General comes out with a letter and says, why aren't we doing what is going on with the city that aren't accepting these firefighters that are, I mean, unfortunately, we're only in July, and I believe about 5 firemen have died already or been diagnosed with cancer. And I try and stay up to date because we try and help with phone calls. Hey man, if you need to talk to insurance, talk to them this way, or this is how it went for us, or this is extra treatment we went through. And so we try and stay as a community, but there's guys committing suicide over this. There's guys not getting covered over this. There's PTSD, and there's lots of programs out there to help with that. And so fortunately, Gilbert and I are here to help do whatever we can, because that's our family. And while going through it, it's not just about me anymore. Like I'm going through treatment, and I go through good and bad days, but I'll answer a phone call any day for anyone that I've never even met, just to give my view and say, here's what I went through. Hopefully you don't have to, but here's a little help, or charity events, or anything really. I mean, we could talk all day about supporting and just the fight outside of cancer. But
speaking of supporting, being new into retirement, I know when you were still on the job but not necessarily there, I was told that you got a tremendous amount of help from your fellow firefighters picking up for you and working overtime or carrying your shifts so you didn't have to go without a paycheck. Can you kind of share that and explain to people that may not know when you're covering for a shift, how that works so you never had to go without pay?
Yeah, so fortunately, I also pay into a short-term disability plan. So I was on a short-term disability, and that was a very low percentage of my normal pay. Well, fortunately, we have a policy within the city that allows other firemen to donate a certain amount of sick and vacation time to me to kind of supplement what the short-term disability isn't paying. And throughout the years, I mean, every year it's a one-time chance to donate for Gilbert or donate for Austin, or even for people whose parents die or something and they don't have enough sick and vacation time, we can donate to that, or they have problems with their kids. So I was lucky enough to have those donations, because immediately all the sick and vacation time that I accrued through working at the fire department goes away, because we work 48-hour shifts. That goes away pretty quick. So even guys that were new to the fire department that I unfortunately haven't even met before because I'm off work getting treatment are donating me sick and vacation hours. And it made a world of a difference, because a low percentage for short-term disability does not help. I mean, it helps. It's not zero, but it helped fill and fill out my paycheck to where I could still go get my treatment and eat and feed my family. And the support at work was amazing. And not only just donating sick and vacation time, we have our local fire union 4005, which we have a charities program where we do charity events, car shows, and things like that, where we collect money for this exact reason, where if I need help, charities will help with, they'll donate a check and say, here, take this and pay your medical bills. Well, every fire department in the state has reached out. They hear all these stories because we reach out as well through our member services program, through our union and our charities. We reach out as well, but every fire department, Phoenix, Daisy Mountain, Glendale, Tempe, they all just show up and say, hey, here, we want to help. I had a guy, we were at my daughter's jiu-jitsu practice. I had no idea who he was, or I have no idea how he knew I was there watching my daughter. And he showed up and handed me a check, introduced himself, and, wait a minute, how do you know I was here? But just the outcry of support. It's been hot here in Arizona the last couple of weeks. I had 12 guys from our work, and 5 of them I didn't know because we just hired them, come out and weed whack my property and do some tree trimming, and just to ease my mind of stuff that you normally do around the house, and they just showed up, did it, and hung out for a while and moved on. It's not just financially, it's mental. I have guys, some days I'm on the couch where I can't move. I have guys just come lay on the couch with me and not even talk. I've got guys that meet me at chemo. I've got guys that take me out to a bar to watch a UFC fight. Or the support isn't, the financial support is very helpful, but the emotional support for me and my family, it also teaches my little girls how to treat other people and what the big picture is, and it's terribly overwhelming, the support that comes in, and there's no words. You don't want to be, as a fireman especially, you don't want to be the guy that takes the help. You want to be the guy that gives it. So it's very overwhelming and hard to say thank you. What else do you say? I can't help back right now because I can hardly walk, or I'm in treatment, or how do you give back? Because that's what I've done my whole life. I've never had to accept all this, and it just comes in waves and waves, and people set up GoFundMe accounts for you or charity events for you, and it clears your mind for a minute. Gilbert set up an event for when he cleared his cancer, and he donated everything to me. Everything was about me when we're there partying for Gilbert. And he just beat cancer. And that's how deep the love is. I worked with Gilbert on the ladder truck for years and years, and it was supposed to be a huge party for him, and my whole every family and friends showed up, and it was just a love event. It took away my cancer for the night, for a couple days, having something else to see and be happy about, and not dwell in my house on the couch or just in treatment. And so the support is insane, and I do nothing but think about, fortunately with my retirement, I'm a co-chair of our member services program. They're letting me continue that, and our member services program helps anyone in need. Say your grandma gets sick and you have to go to the hospital. Hey, I'm on the phone trying to get a trade for so-and-so, needs to go visit his grandma. We'll send flowers. Somebody unfortunately dies, Brian Beck just recently, and Ricky. We send this huge flower bouquet, and so that gives me it clears my mind. Finally, and it's terrible to say it this way, for lack of better words, but finally someone else needs help. And I can do it this way and yes, I manage people and say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do this for me if I can't do it? But they're allowing me to stay in that role, and that just clears my head from what I'm going through. For even a 30-minute phone call or whatever, So the chance to give back is just as good as the outcry of people that help. We need to fight back all these people. Yeah, it's a small community of firefighters with how big the population is, but we need to kick back with how they're treating police, fire, every first responder that isn't being treated correctly. It's not just about me anymore. It's about the whole community of first responders and how we're just being denied and pushed aside for something that we've earned. I mean, I don't know how other employers do things, but we need to get on the cities and get on these independent insurance companies. I know some cities do it different, like we carry copper, or Goodyear carries Copper Point, but Phoenix has their own private, and so we just need to get on them and say we're not being treated right. And the outcry of public is one of the biggest support programs that we could have. If the public gets kicked into it through interviews like this, through you guys and other news channels and newspaper articles and just getting out and showing support through charity events. There was just a charity event on Saturday for 2 firefighters here in the valley with cancer, and other people walk towards the restaurant where the charity event is and they say, "What's going on?" And they come in and they donate. We need that outcry from the public and from the fire community as well, because it's not just for us. It's for, I mean, I have 2 little girls I have to raise and a wife and family members. I've got 64 cousins. They call me every day. It's like the outcry, that's just me. Everyone has that, and the outcry of the public and just fighting back with those insurance companies and the cities need to get on board with helping the people that are working for them. Breaking that bureaucracy of what the city just follows because they're hands off, because, we use an insurance company. We need to fight back and have our cities that we work for fight back too. So just getting the word out right now is the biggest thing, and hopefully changing the future of guys getting cancer. And I mean, it's happening a couple times a month right now.
Here's our top story.
KTAR News, 92.3 FM, Arizona's news station.